Welcome to Southwest Desert, where adventure meets the arid beauty of the American Southwest. Join us as we explore the rugged landscapes, uncover hidden historical gems, and dive deep into the rich legends and culture of this iconic region. Subscribe now and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our latest desert adventures. Please leave a like or comment. This is very helpful. Let's journey together into the heart of the Southwest Desert. Imagine this. It's a scorching July afternoon in 1850. Inside a packed California courthouse, over 1,000 armed men are crammed together like powder in a keg, waiting for a murder trial to begin. The air is thick with sweat, tobacco smoke, and barely contained rage. Then, bang! A single pistol accidentally fires. In an instant, pandemonium erupts. 100 guns are drawn. Men are diving through windows, bullets are flying, and the entire town explodes into chaos. When the gunsmoke clears, they'll discover that 4 innocent men were nearly lynched, and an entire ethnic population is about to be driven from their homes at gunpoint. This is the true story of Sonora, California, a place one resident described as having more gamblers, more drunkards, more ugly, bad women, and larger lumps of gold than any other place within Uncle Sam's dominions. A town where justice was whatever a red-faced frontiersman said it was, where murder was a weekly occurrence, and where the American dream revealed its darkest face. Welcome to the Queen of the Southern Mines. Welcome to Sonora. Our story begins in August 1848, when Mexican miners from the state of Sonora discovered something incredible along the Stanislaus and Tuolumne rivers. The gold wasn't just plentiful, it was massive. Coarse nuggets that would make modern prospectors weep. Men were pulling several ounces a day from the ground when most miners elsewhere would kill for half an ounce. But news like this doesn't stay secret long in Gold Rush, California. By early 1849, American miners packed river steamers to Stockton, then raised continuous dust clouds on the trail to Sonora. At night, campfires stretched from Stockton to the mountains, a constellation of greed lighting up the California darkness. By year's end, over 14,000 people had descended on the district, 10,000 Mexicans who considered this ancestral land, and 4,000 Americans who considered it their God-given right to take it. The town that emerged was unlike anything California had seen. Adobe buildings with Spanish balconies stood beside American structures with false fronts. Saloons featured crystal chandeliers and what accounts delicately called sexy paintings. On Sundays, you could witness Mexican bullfights, traveling circuses, or listen to a mysterious woman in black velvet who sang Italian arias while playing piano. Sonora had become the most cosmopolitan, most prosperous, and most dangerous town in the southern mines. With 5,000 residents, it was a genuine city in the wilderness. With over $600 million eventually pulled from surrounding mines, it was the richest place most people had ever seen. And with an average of 1 unpunished murder every week, it was about to become a powder keg. The trouble began when Americans arrived in force. These weren't just any Americans. These were men who had witnessed their country's crushing victory in the Mexican War. They were convinced God had ordained American dominance over North America. California was theirs by conquest, and they'd be damned if foreigners would walk away with the best mining claims. What followed was systematic harassment, intimidation, and violence. At first, Mexican miners tried avoiding confrontation. When Americans claimed their sites, many simply moved on rather than fight. But in July 1849, 1,500 more Mexican miners arrived, and the dynamic shifted. The Mexicans were no longer willing to be pushed around. The result was an explosion of violence. Within a month, 12 men lay dead around Sonora. Some Mexican miners, driven to desperation, formed outlaw bands. American miners began sleeping with gold dust under their pillows, but thieves would rob them even then. The local newspaper captured the atmosphere. No man dreams of traveling without the pistol and the knife. In June 1850, California's legislature poured gasoline on this fire by passing the foreign miners' tax, $30 monthly from all foreign miners. That was more than many miners made in a month, designed to drive Mexicans out entirely. When the tax collector arrived in Sonora, the Mexicans had had enough. Thousands held mass meetings, denounced the tax, and swore to defy authorities. Americans responded by organizing rifle companies and setting up armed street patrols. Mexican guerrilla raids escalated. The town had become a pressure cooker. The explosion came on July 10, 1850. Miners discovered 3 Indians and 1 Mexican burning 2 American bodies. Without waiting for explanation or investigation, they concluded the 4 were murderers, bound them, and marched them into Sonora at gunpoint. The town erupted into frenzy. During preliminary hearings, hundreds of armed citizens converged on the courthouse. Suddenly, the prisoners were snatched away and dragged to a hilltop tree. The mob selected its own jury, held its own trial, delivered its verdict: guilty. Ropes became nooses. The Mexican was already swinging when Sheriff George Work crashed through the crowd with revolvers drawn. Somehow, incredibly, he and his deputy halted the lynching and got the prisoners to jail. 4 days later, rumors reached Sonora that Mexican guerrillas were camped nearby. Work assembled 20 riders and struck out to investigate. When they returned, they brought 110 Mexican prisoners, all branded as murder suspects. Word of mass arrests spread and miners poured into Sonora. By trial day, over 1,000 armed men had descended on town. The courthouse was packed beyond capacity with men carrying revolvers, knives, and rifles. That's when the accidental pistol discharge triggered pandemonium. 100 guns were drawn. The courthouse instantly disgorged its contents by every door and window. Men emerged from buildings shooting at Mexican bystanders. For terrifying minutes, Sonora looked like a war zone. The district attorney climbed onto a tree stump pleading for order. Gradually, miraculously, shooting stopped. Despite all the chaos, only 1 person was injured. The original shooter wounded his own wrist. When the trial continued, they discovered something shameful. The 4 original prisoners were completely innocent. They'd found the bodies days after the murders and were cremating them according to religious customs, an act of charity. As for the 110 Mexicans, every single one was examined and found innocent. Most had arrived only days before. The judge sent them joyfully homeward, but the damage was done. 10 days later, several thousand armed miners gathered for a mass meeting. Having no murder suspects to lynch, they decided to vent anger on an entire ethnic group. Their resolutions were brutal. All foreigners had 15 days to leave Tuolumne County and surrender firearms. The only exemption was permits from American committees deciding which foreigners were of respectable character. The exodus was heartbreaking. 200 Mexican families passed through Sonora returning to Mexico, a sorrowful and disillusioned company. By September, 3/4 of Sonora's Mexicans were gone. Population plummeted from 5,000 to 3,000. Businesses failed. The newspaper suspended publication. One resident noted that in 6 weeks following the exodus, there have been only 2 men shot in our streets. Ethnic cleansing was apparently good for public safety statistics. The economic cost was devastating. Sonora had killed its own boom through mobocracy at its worst. But Sonora was tougher than expected. The town slowly reinvented itself, becoming more refined. Travelers found clean hotels and even ice cream, made possible by snow packed from high mountains. On Sundays, everyone turned out in finest attire. Men wore bright silk neckerchiefs and competed with elaborate beard styles. Some braided like tobacco twists. Others separated into three tails reaching their belts. One extremist tied his beard in a bow under his chin, using it as a necktie. The reason for masculine preening was obvious. Clotheslines throughout town were hung with dresses and petticoats. As the local paper observed, time was when the presence of virtuous women in the mines was a thing wished for, not enjoyed. Of course, civilization was relative, especially regarding the legal system. The magistrate was Major Richard C. Barry, a stocky, red-faced frontiersman who was ignorant, prejudiced, bull-headed, and inordinately proud. Barry operated the most amazing justice court ever under the Constitution, keeping records on paper scraps and serving as legal dictator of Tuolumne County. Take Jesus Ramirez's mule theft case. Barry's own record states, "George swears the mule in question is his'n, and I believe so too. I found Jesus Ramirez guilty, sentenced him to pay $10 costs and fined him $100. Since Ramirez couldn't pay, Barry ruled that Sheriff Work, the theft victim, should pay both costs and fine. When the sheriff's lawyer protested, Barry responded, "I told him that I didn't care a damn for his book law, that I was the law myself." He fined the lawyer $50 and sentenced him to 5 days in jail for contempt. Today, Sonora survives as one of the few gold rush towns that outlasted the mining boom, now depending on lumber, agriculture, and tourism. But Sonora's real legacy is moral. The town's story is a microcosm of American westward expansion, incredible individual opportunity existing beside systematic oppression. It's the American dream revealing both golden promise and bloodiest nightmares. If you would like to see a lost gold story by where I grew up, click on the link in the description. Join my Patreon community and discover my art print products on my website in the links provided in my description and link above. Also, if you would like a particular image from my videos, give the timestamp for image, and I will upload it to my website and Patreon. Thank you for joining your desert frontiersman Alan for another Southwest Gold story. Check out my large catalog of Southwest videos and playlists on historical tales, legends, lost gold stories, and adult bedtime stories. If you like a certain image from my videos, tell me in comments and give timestamp. Happy trails! Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more great content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.